Welcome to the Podium Live, giving you an inside look at some of the best football coaches and players around the world. Our goal at the Podium is to help athletes and coaches sign contracts with teams across the globe. So if you're an athlete or a coach looking to play anywhere in the world, just go to the Podium Recruit website today and sign up and get you a profile. All you have to do is look down here on the link below, recruit.thepodium.com. All right, so I'm your host, Vincent Pervis, just a football guy from Texas, made my way to Finland. Now I'm talking to awesome coaches and players around the world about American football. Well, today I have an awesome guy for you. Today we're going to have Brett Morgan, the head coach of the Guelfi Firenze in Italy. Now, I'm going to brag about Brett a little bit so you guys can get a true understanding of this guy and what he has done, okay? Brett has over 10 years' worth of coaching experience, both professionally and privately. He's contributed to almost every level of the football game. He's coached in the CFL, NFL, college, and, of course, internationally. Now, Coach Morgan has participated in a wide range of positions, serving from head coach, assistant coach, personnel scout, and general manager. Not only has he done coaching, he's also been a guest coach at various college programs, including Wake Forest University and Eastern Michigan University, just name a couple of the big name schools he's been at. He's also spent time giving coaching presentations at both the AFCA and AFCAM coaching clinics. Now, it sounds like, man, that's a lot of information. Well, that's not all this guy has done. He's more than just a professional. He's shaping the young minds of the future. He volunteers as a coach and mentor for the Athletes in Action organization and also with the Football Coaches International organization, where he coaches in different countries throughout the world. Now, for me, just doing a little bit of what Coach Morgan has done, I'd be tired. But this guy is relentless, and he's always trying to give back to the sport. So somehow he finds even more time to work with the Nike Elite 11 as a quarterback instructor, in addition to running his own academy, his own quarterback academy called 904 Elite. Now, 904 Elite, I'm going to ask him to talk about it a little bit more, but the information I have on it so far is he's coaching and reached out, and basically he's impacted hundreds of youth, high school, collegiate, and professional players in over 6 countries and 4 different states from around the world. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you guys to head coach Brett Morgan.
Hey, Vincent, how you doing?
I'm good, man.
That intro was far too kind, my friend. I appreciate it.
As good as I could, man. Before we go any further, I want to talk a little bit about your QB Academy 904 Elite. If you could just tell us a little bit about it, kind of give us the rundown on what's going on with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. The game of football has given me infinitely more than I could ever give it back. So my humble attempt to try to give back was to start this football academy in Jacksonville, Florida. I grew up in Jacksonville, played in Jacksonville, and it's just a tremendous place for young people and young athletes. We wanted to look at a way to use football kind of as our platform, our vessel, to try to present a holistic training program for young people to build character, build life skill, through the game of football. And what it became was a lot more than I expected. I mean, a lot of guys came through that program and became tremendous college players going into the pro game now. One of our first guys started 5th, 6th grade, this guy John Wolford. He's had an incredible year as the starting quarterback at Wake Forest University. And he's one of tens of guys that have done that. So it's been a really rewarding process. I've been a small part of that, but just really proud of the work we've done with that program.
All right, Coach. Definitely appreciate you telling us a little bit more about that. We're going to talk now. We're going to get into last year, what you had going in 2017. If you could just tell us a little bit about what happened last year and how you're getting ready for this year in Italy.
Sorry. Yeah, I got an opportunity to do a a scouting internship program that put me in multiple NFL camps and with multiple NFL scouting personnel. I just thought it was a really good opportunity to professionally develop for me. I've been fortunate to be able to work in coaching, but also in scouting, and to kind of take that year to kind of further those networks and to strengthen myself as a coach and a talent evaluator. I thought was something I had to do. It wasn't easy. I had a tremendous job in Turkey with the Coach Rams. I think Coach is one of the finest organizations in Europe, and it was tough to leave there, but it was a decision I made, and I really valued that year I had. It's tough to be away from the field, as any coach knows. You want to be on the grass teaching. But for me to step back, be able to kind of analyze the year before, look at some areas I thought I needed to grow as a coach, I needed to improve a lot as a leader, and to be able to use that year to do that was big for me. So I've always kind of felt like on-field success can be a false sense of success at times, and I thought it masked some things that I needed to get better at. So that year away, I tried to use to be prepared for this opportunity now at Guelfi.
All right. So moving on to you said it better than I can say it. How do you pronounce it? Guelfi or
Guelfi?
Guelfi. It's in Florence, right?
Yes, Vincent. Guelfi is a very powerful warrior in Florence, Italy. Yeah, it's a traditional kind of I guess you would say political party / warrior. And Guelfi is just a tremendous place, and we hope to embody those traits with our football team.
All right. Speaking of your football team, what are your plans for 2018 with the Guelfi Firenze? Like, what are you guys planning on doing in this offseason to get ready for the Italian league?
Yeah, it was imperative for me to get out here as early as I could. So I got here in September, and we started our off-season program then, and we're basically 6.5 weeks in to our off-season program, introducing a weightlifting program, a strength and conditioning program, and an installation program that would mirror OTAs in the U.S. is kind of where we are right now. So this group, there were some things mindset-wise, obviously, we needed to establish in terms of how we operate day-to-day as an organization. We needed to make sure we got that foundation in place. Certainly in addition to the player development, which is a priority, the coaching development part of it, just starting to get the foundation down for how we want to operate as an organization in 2018, but also long term.
I'm sorry about that, Coach. I pressed the button and now you couldn't hear me, could you?
No, I lost you there for a bit. I'm sorry. Could you say it again?
We're working on new stuff here, okay? We're trying to be Podyum live. But what I said, Coach, was you've coached both in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, and you have a long history of different things. And I just wanted you to kind of give the people here a kind of rundown of the history of the Brett Morgan story, the legacy. Like, how did it start? How did you get into coaching internationally? And how did this become passion / love?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely just fortuitous. I mean, nothing in my mind special that I've done. I've been very fortunate, very lucky. Living in Jacksonville, I was able to come across a man named John Huffnagel. John Huffnagel is a long-time NFL offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. Won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, coaching under Belichick, coaching Brady. Just an incredible career. And in one of his spots, he was the offensive coordinator with the Jacksonville Jaguars and kept a home there in Jacksonville. I was just fortunate enough to meet him through some football circles. He liked me enough to give me a couple opportunities to come up to Calgary, and that kind of grew from there. And that was a master's program in coaching for me. I mean, I thought I just grew infinitely as a coach during that time. My first exposure to the Canadian game, and it's definitely a much different game. And in a lot of ways, I thought a smarter game, a faster game. And it really, I thought, expanded my perspective of the game of football. So I spent a few years there in some different roles. And from there, that was kind of my first idea that, hey, there is football outside of the U.S. As an American growing up in the U.S., you know how it is in Texas. For me in the state of Florida, that's all it is, right? So to kind of get a taste of that and see the passion that there is for American football and what incredible opportunities there are to grow the game. We have certainly a saturation of football in the U.S. currently. So to be able to come out of that and really, I think, make a bigger impact for me was something I wanted to pursue. So I looked into some things. There was an opportunity to go to Brazil for a period of time and help kind of grow the game. That was through some contacts I had NFL-wise, and that was an incredible opportunity. Football is growing there. It's not quite what it is in Europe, obviously, and obviously in Canada and U.S. But I thought it started to get me in a trajectory that way. So I started to look for other ways to kind of get involved in international football without a full commitment to it, so I could continue to work in the U.S. and Canada. So I did some camps throughout Europe. I went over to Turkey, went to Italy, a couple different places, and relationships started. That was probably 3-4 years ago. And those relationships didn't stop. And that's how the opportunity with Coach Rams in Turkey came about. And that's how the relationship here with Guelfi started as well, as working these camps. And it's just been a really, really great experience for me. I'm just really fortunate, blessed about it. And for this season in my life, however long it is, I'm just trying to take full advantage of it.
All right, Coach. That sounds awesome. I mean, a lot of people don't understand how difficult it is to be able to just kind of move from country to country and still impact players on a local and international level. And you've done that for a very long time, and you're really good at it. That's why I've been bragging on you all day.
That's too kind, Vincent. And, luckily, things like the Podyum, I mean this genuinely, the Podyum is such a powerful source right now, and it is growing so quickly. And to be able to join with people like the Podyum and yourself and continue that kind of vision, it's awesome. So, a credit to you guys as well. Incredible work.
Well, since we're talking about the Podyum, let me throw in a little plug right here. If you guys want to see the world, you want to connect with us, go to recruit.thepodium.com and, get a profile, join the community, follow us on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. We're trying to be everywhere and do everything just like Coach Morgan said. We're trying to grow this sport. It's an international sport, and we're going to make it huge, guys.
And we had 2 import players we've already signed this year that were both on Podyum. So it can impact teams, coaches out there. Please use the resource. It's a tremendous source.
Definitely. So next thing I want to talk about with you, Coach, was obviously if you've lived and played in all these different countries, you've got to experience the local culture of different cultures, actually. I'm using the same word twice. But, living in Canada and coaching there, the life itself had to be different. And now you've been in Brazil. I know that's crazy. I spent a little time there myself, so I understand. Yeah. And now you're in Italy, which is, the history in Italy is crazy. But just tell us a little bit about the different culture and how it helps impact your lifestyle, like being able to go from one country to another.
Yeah, I really believe that if you're not uncomfortable, you can't grow. I really do believe that. So I've tried to get comfortable being very uncomfortable, being adaptable. We talk to our players and our coaches about being adaptable leaders, and that plans can change, and they change a lot here in Europe, but the vision is constant. And that's part of the process, is can you handle those environments in that situation? So, I agree with you. Every time you make a move, no matter how many moves you make, there's going to be cultural differences that are distinct to that area or region. So Canada was a little bit easier. Obviously, it's a little bit more U.S. So it was a good starter place for me. But going to Brazil was a dramatic shift and difficult at times. It really was. I loved Brazil. I still love Brazil. I go usually once a year for a camp. But it was definitely a shock. What I tell all first-time imports, players or coaches, is that you cannot avoid the homesick or uncomfortableness of a first time moving. But If you stay gritty and resilient and you push through it, you're rewarded beyond what you could possibly imagine before you get there. I mean, every guy has expectations and hopes of where they go, but the friendships you make, the bonds that are life lasting, the impact you make on the environment you enter into, and then how people around change you is something that it's unmatched. So no matter what high of a level you play at, this European experience is on its own in terms of what it can give you in your life. So I encourage guys, if they get the opportunity to do it. And again, it won't be easy all the time, but it is worth it.
All right, Coach. I just want to add this. I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but
Nigel getting in there.
Yeah, you got a little love on there, a little comment. So, it's right here. There you go. You're the best, Coach. So, I just thought we'd put that out there. I mean, if someone puts it on the internet, then it must be true. And I
paid him a ton of money to go on here and do that. I appreciate it.
Right? Awesomeness. Getting back to it, Coach. I've been talking about you a lot, and obviously I'm impressed by everything you've done, and you're so accomplished and very worldly, learning from different cultures. But if you were to kind of describe to us your coaching style, like I want to know, if I was playing for Coach Morgan, like what kind of coach would I be seeing on a day-to-day basis? Give us a little bit on that.
That's a great question. I really, really have admired the style of Greg Popovich. Is a guy that I've really admired from afar. I've never met Greg Popovich or been around Greg Popovich, but just always really liked his style. I thought he's a Texas guy like you, by the way, obviously. But I really think Greg is a guy that there's discipline and structure to the way they play. There's a distinct system and detail to the way they prepare and play. But there's great, I would guess, say duality to the freedom he gives the players. And I like the fact that there's ownership from the players. I think, for guys that come and play for me, I want them to feel like they're invested, that their input matters, that they do have ownership of what we do, but it's within a structure that's a winning structure. And I've always kind of liked that about them. The other thing I thought Popovich always did a great job of is having perspective. They are culturally aware. They're world event aware. They understand the importance of things happening outside of the game of football or basketball for them. And I hope my group selfishly is that way as well. We work really hard to try to look at some things intellectually, look at some things worldly, just try to make sure that football is not all football all the time, that it's an opportunity to do some other things outside of that can impact them as men. They also have to go be fathers or husbands or leaders or whatever it may be. And I hope we can take these lessons and apply it. And I think he does a great job of that. Style-wise on the grass, I think every guy is inherently who they are, and I don't think you can fake it and try to put on a show. I know that I tend to be fiery, guys that have played for me, that I'm a passionate, fiery person. So I've always heard Gruden. Gruden's one of those that I've heard a lot in terms of on-field style. But that is something I want to be better at. I think when I'm more patient, when I speak less and more deliberately and concisely and not quickly and reactionary, I think I'm a better teacher and a better coach. But I guess I would say a blend of those two, but hopefully improving.
All right, Coach. Sorry, I'm still playing with a couple of things. We're
like it
with the podium. There's a lot of different views I'm working with here. Next thing I was going to talk to you about, you just told us a little bit about your coaching style, which obviously you've been successful at coaching. So what I wanted to ask you was, what are a few of the main things that you've seen on different teams, especially internationally, that have contributed to successful teams? A lot of people trying to figure out, how do I make my team good and still increase recruitment and all that other stuff? But sticking to the X's and O's, what do you see about teams that are doing it the right way? Is there something about the practice schedule? Is it the coaching, players themselves, support from organization? Tell us a little bit, what do you see that makes successful teams internationally?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and one that I try to work on daily as well. I think one thing I've learned is that because I've made the mistake is from an installation perspective, doing too much weekly in season to me is a major problem. So at a very high level, CFL, NFL being around those levels, it's almost a new offense week to week. I mean, you're doing whatever it is you need to do to attack the opponent. And so installation from camp, it can vary quite a bit to what you're doing, game plan wise. I just don't think you have the exposure to the players and the time to teach it enough to dramatically shift and change what you do in season. I think whatever the core of what you want to be needs to be in by a certain point. It needs to be taught, and there needs to be minimal change throughout the year. So when you're planning out what it is you're going to be, it needs to be adaptable and flexible enough to obviously be able to beat different opponents, be able to be good versus the different looks you're going to see. But that's, to me, something I've really tried to focus on quite a bit. I think the other thing that I try quite a bit to do is not get tied to terminology that I've maybe grown accustomed to, and every year try to find whether it's shared vocabulary, shared visual imagery, things that country and its learner and what I understand as an American English learner can share, and just allow us to more quickly speak a common language, if that makes sense. So as opposed to just calling it this because I knew it as this, I'll learn it. I'll try to learn it and help the learner with terminology. So we do that quite a bit. Certain countries are nonverbal communicating countries. In Italy, everybody talks with their hands. So I try to remind myself of that. If I can be more nonverbal, it fits to what the learner is accustomed to learning. So just trying to, I think, study the learner and look at the way you teach as opposed to just the plays you're running all the time. Coaches get frustrated. Hey, I drew this great football play up, and then I'm going to hand it to you and learn it and do it. Why can't you execute this? And I think it's just trying to understand there's discrepancies in the learning throughout the process. So that for me is big. I think when you look at teams across Europe, Vincent, and this is really in any organization, is just a structural alignment from management to staff to players. I think when it goes wrong, there's that lack of alignment in vision and what you want. So I think that's critical, that we all share the same vision and what we're trying to do. And that communication is constant and respectful. There's a lot of times you go in with a new management and you don't have the trust over time yet. And maybe you communicate in a way that you would in a football room where there's comfort from before, but they're not used to being spoken to a certain way or challenged. And I think it's just, being mindful of that, be respectful. You're all in it for the same reasons. I've just seen coaches and management unravel quickly over something that was said to each other. So I just try to prioritize communication as well, in what I do. It does a few things. Back schematically, honestly, I think in general coaches get tied to systems too much. I think you should know enough football to be able to go in and do schematically what, number one, fits your league. What plays in your league? You can come in and be like, I'm a this system or that system guy, but what are you seeing? Like, what's the personnel groupings? How do people play? And then understanding, every league has guys you have to hide. All right, now is my system maximizing my players' strengths and minimizing their weaknesses? And these are things to me that have to happen first before you start deciding what you are schematically in terms of your system. But just my opinion. Yeah.
I love it. Like, oh my God, you're hitting it like nail on the, like hammer on the nail on the head. You know the phrase. You're saying it perfect, Coach. But I want to ask you this random question because you were talking about sticking to your identity and knowing who you are. One thing that happens here in Europe, I think a lot of people don't understand is, football is a dangerous sport. Injuries happen. And actually living in Finland, I saw a team last year, middle of the season, they lost their starting quarterback and their starting running back. They were a running team with a running quarterback. And so if you get in a situation where you actually do lose your identity, especially in a foreign country where bringing in more players is time consuming and can change the entire chemistry. What would you suggest to some of these coaches out there who are put in these situations where they don't know the identity of their team and they're going along through the season trying to figure it out? What would you suggest is the best way to kind of figure out what your team is good at if you don't have the time of, like, say, a full offseason?
Yeah, really difficult. We've all experienced it. And, sometimes you're just trying to figure out how to make the ball move, a little bit week to week. And particularly in a structure in Europe where it's predominantly an import quarterback league. Mm-hmm. And if something goes wrong with that guy, injury, whatever it may be, yeah, you're stuck because the majority of what you've kind of determined to do is based on that player. And no matter, there's very few, European quarterbacks. There's some good ones, but there's going to be a drop from a U.S. import guy to going to your non-import national player at that position. So, it can really shift what you do. To be honest, I think you just have to have some things built in that are sound without being, too schematic about it. There's ways you have to manufacture offense. I mean, any team at any level, the quarterback is more of a manager than he is a guy that's going to dictate things. You're going to have to do more in the screen game. You're going to have to make sure you max out protections. You're going to have to do a lot of those types of things offensively to make sure you can still try to get the ball to move somehow. Certainly from a defensive perspective, losing your defensive import or defensive imports also problematic in a lot of ways. I think it's important that the scheme provides you the ability to be, again, versatile enough where you're not stuck where if I lose this one football player, we're broken. But it's tough. There's no real sure answer. There's no magic play or magic formula when you lose good players. But we try to account for it. Vincent, to answer your question honestly, we try to account for it in terms of contingencies in our signing. So I'm sure a lot of teams, when they're looking at their other imports, they're looking at guys that have quarterback backgrounds, for instance. To me, if my advice would be to make sure I've got a couple other athletic people that have quarterback background, at least to high school, that's a priority for us. With a defensive import, if you only have one, I might take a slightly lesser player if he's still impactful, if he does have a quarterback background. Beyond that, for me, it goes deeper for me too. I worry about losing the long snapper. I worry about, what happens here if our punt returner goes down. Those are a couple of spots that are super scary for me. So even looking at a defensive import that has a little bit of background in that stuff, that carries a ton of value.
All right, I won't stick you too long on the X's and O's. We can talk about this all day. But this is an awesome Podium Live show, so we have to keep going. I was
evading a bit with the schematics. I have this little window of an advantage that I'm new to the country. I can't give away too much, but hopefully it's still helpful.
So, you're talking about you're new to the country. Let's actually talk about development of the sport in different countries. Like you said, in Brazil, it's not nearly as far along as some of the places in Europe. You've been in Canada; they're pretty high. It's more like the States in Canada, but it's a different sport, like you said. And it's also something else to figure out. Just sticking to the international aspect of it, how do you see the development? You've been coaching for almost a little bit over a decade now, so you've seen a lot of it. How's the growth went? Have you seen highs and lows or continual growth? Are countries getting better or worse? Give us your opinion about it.
Yeah, that's an incredible question. And I don't think it's continued growth, to be honest. There are ebbs and flows of it. Up in the CFL, those guys are excellent coaches. I mean, those guys are all terrific, have been in the NFL or in the Division I college game. And it doesn't mean every guy's a great coach. I'm not saying that, but that's very good coaching there. But certainly now you go to, for instance, I went to Brazil and there's two coaches on staff, three coaches, and one of them is 21 years old. But he became the head football coach, and he will now be joining us at Guelfi here next year as well. So I'm really excited to be able to take somebody that I coached and worked with in Brazil as a younger man, and now he's going to come over to Europe and start his dream of being a European football coach. So not to jump around, but that dream's shifting. Like Vincent, you and I know it as like the dreams to be in the NFL or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Well, now you've got these guys in South America. You've got guys in other places. They're dreaming to get to Europe. That's pretty cool growth. But then, I go over to Istanbul, and it was kind of a similar deal in Turkey where there's two assistant coaches, one really, and you're doing everything. But the team was, we obviously had a lot of success. It was a good team. Come over to Italy, and I've got 12 coaches on the senior staff, and we've got a junior team, U19, U16, U13. They've all got multiple coaches on them, and some terrific coaches. We have some really excellent coaches here in Italy. Fabrizio Bocci, Paolo Pacciaroni. I'm leaving out a lot of good assistants, I know, but guys that are really good. So I guess what I'm saying is that there's teams probably over there in Istanbul or Coach or you and I were talking Serbia before the show that are probably teams that are pretty good, and the football is growing, but to me the coaching has not necessarily grown. But yet here in Italy, we have teams that won't make the playoffs here that I know are getting better coached, and some teams that are well regarded throughout Europe. So I hope to see the coaching improve. I think you're seeing more and more Americans and Canadians come over and coach in Europe. That's going to improve the game. So I'm hopeful. And as you know, I've always kind of wondered the leagues that tried to limit the import players, why you want to have none or one import. I think every team would attest that if you can get more imports involved, the game does grow over time. And then the coaching to me is even more, because I know you made a great point earlier, Vincent, when you were talking about a player's there for 3 to 6 months and he's gone maybe. But with better coaches that are committed to continuing to grow as coaches in Europe, you provide infrastructure, to all these teams. And now infrastructure over time becomes program, and then it pours into player development. And yeah, I guess to answer your question, I think in some areas it's growing, and in some it still needs to improve.
Definitely. Last thing, Coach.
We only got one more?
No, actually, we got two more. So, hey, we're having a good time. We're live. Hey, we'll keep going. And let me throw this out there one more time. If you'd like to keep going and grow with us with the sport of American football, you can always go to recruit.thepodium.com, get a profile, follow us on all the different social medias. We send out a lot of email blasts letting you guys know what's going on internationally and also in the States. We're into college and semi-pro teams as well out there. But, me, Pervis, I'm out here in Finland taking care of international European business. So the next thing I actually want to talk to you about, Coach, was you're in Guelfi. You're in it to win it this year, right? Is that correct?
Well, when I get up out of bed every morning, I'm trying to win it. Absolutely. Everything I do. What's that?
2018, Guelfi Italy. Am I looking at Italian Super Bowl champions? Am I looking at a playoff team? Am I looking at a team still rebuilding? What's the plan for 2018 for you guys?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and I think there's really some excellent young football players here. There's some young guys. It's a bit in a bridge where there's some very young, talented guys, and then some older, veteran, experienced guys. You try to find that middle ground where guys are kind of in their prime, experienced but still physically talented. I think we have a chance to be a lot better. I think there's things that we can do that weren't maybe done here last year, from our structure, from our systems, from hidden yardage stuff, just doing things sound that we can make us much better. I certainly, in my mind, I expect us to win every football game and win it all. And if I didn't truly believe that, I shouldn't be here. But at the same time, as a leader, I have to have enough perspective to understand that right now, our record is what we are. We were 2-8. we're a losing football team, and until you're a non-losing football team, that's what you are. So to me, before you can go from 2-8 to an Italian Super Bowl, you need to make sure you're a non-losing team. So that's where my focus is, making sure we're doing the little things in terms of day-to-day habits, our routines, our preparation. So to answer your question, that's the intent. I think we're going to be a good football team, a better football team. But certainly when I came here with management, we talked about this as a multi-year plan, being realistic about it. I hope I can accelerate that. I really hope as a staff we can accelerate that. I know our players are doing everything we're asking them to do to accelerate that. But we're going to keep a good vision and perspective on our program too. It's Vincent, I would just say that it's for me, it's about player development. We have young guys, and my focus day to day right now is just pouring into each individual player, improving. But hopefully that'll equate in wins, and we'll see how it goes. All
right. So now we actually are to the last question. I jumped the gun earlier because I don't know. I just did. So the big question I have for you actually is this more of a individual type thing for you, Coach Morgan, is what do you see as your long-term plans, your goals of coaching American football? Like let's say if we were to write it on the football tombstone, what would it say? Not to be too
morbid?
What would it say about Coach Brett Morgan? What would you be known as? Like, how would people talk about you after your career is done?
Yeah, I hope that's a great question. I hope that impactful. And not to give just kind of one broad word, but I hope that at the end of the day that each guy that I coach felt like I was a positive impact on him as a man. I really do mean that. I hope that maybe I challenged someone to think about something differently, whether it was football or something in life, and that maybe it helped initiate or ignite or continue a lifelong pursuit of their own personal growth. I mean, that's the best way I can express it. If I could get every guy to be really interested in growing as a man and as a player, there's really nothing better. Really nothing better I could do. As a younger man, I thought, whatever the highest level is, okay, give me that. That's what I want. And that needed to be on the tombstone. But I think as I'm getting more mature and growing, that I'm realizing those are empty desires. I mean, those are short-lived. Just being really getting more comfortable in my coaching skin and enjoying the now and where I am in coaching. I think if I'm being impactful to our staff and our players, and people remember me fondly that way as a leader, I think that would be a pretty great thing to put on the tombstone.
All right. Well, that's all I was asking for, just to find out what they're going to put on your tombstone, man.
Well, hopefully, and they can put champion there too. I'm fine with that.
There you go. He wants to be known as the champion. Brett Morgan's tombstone. Just put champion. I've actually seen some really funny stuff on tombstones lately on Facebook, but that's I've seen people put some crazy stuff on their tombstones.
You've got to send me some of that. I've got to check this out.
I got to send you a link. Like, there's some stuff like, oops, I guess this is where I'm at. Like, crazy stuff. But
I've seen some good videos, Vincent, where people are dancing while carrying the tombstone to the arrival point.
Yeah, some people see funerals as a time of celebration.
I've told all my friends, you're not really my friend unless you're dancing my tomb down to the grave. So I'm with you there. I appreciate it.
Okay, so not the way we're supposed to finish the show talking about funerals, but here live on the podium, we're live, so the conversation takes us where it goes, guys, and that's where first of all, we're about to wrap this up. So Coach Brett Morgan, thank you for joining us here on the live. Really appreciate having you here today. This was awesome.
The pleasure was all mine, Vincent. I meant what I said. Podyum is doing an incredible job, and I'm humbled to be able to come on here with you and be a small part of it. It's really terrific.
All right. Well, since we're, talking Podyum, I guess it's about that time. If you want to join us, if you want to be part of the Podium movement and you want to see the world, you want to play sports, you want to coach or you want to play, or maybe you just want to spend a little bit of time in a different country seeing how the sport is done. Easily, just go to recruit.thepodium.com, sign up for a profile, send us a message. If you're interested in going somewhere in the world, if you want to go anywhere in the world, you want to play football, you want to coach football, if you're really serious about it, I'm going to put this on there. Send me a personal email, vincent@thepodium.com. I'll try everything I can in my power to get you over here in Europe because it's awesome, or anywhere else in the world so you can see it through football, guys. It's an awesome experience. You can ask Coach Morgan. You can ask me. It's a great thing. You guys are going to love it. So if you have time, sign up, get a profile at the recruit.podium, or you can send me, Vincent@thepodium.com, an email saying, hey, I want to play on a team. Get me on Pervis, and I'll do it, man. We'll get what we can, try to get you out there and just trying to spread the sport. I mean, I'm going to have Brett get back on here a little bit so we can have the final words, Coach. I like to give the coach the final words.
Well, just Vincent, again, any way that I can help anyone, and not necessarily even here at Guelfi, but elsewhere, if I can be helpful to American coaches or players that are interested in coming abroad, and I tell people that privately, feel free to contact me, anywhere you want to contact me. And again, we're always welcome here at Italy as well. Again, we're really excited about what we're doing here at Guelfi, brand new stadium, again, a terrific staff. We're just really, really excited about that as well. So, again, it's a really exciting time for the growth of European football and South American football and abroad. And I hope other people take advantage of the opportunity to come and do this if they get it. It really is a life-changing opportunity.
All right. So that's pretty much everything we're going to do now. If you guys want to see the world, go to recruitthepodium.com. We're actually going to be here on Podium Live every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm trying to get this up there so you guys can see it. Sorry. There you go. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll be live talking to different players and coaches from around the world about American football and promoting the sport worldwide. If you guys want to tune in, just find us on Facebook at The Podium every Tuesday and Thursday. We appreciate you guys watching the show today. Have a nice afternoon or morning, depending on what part of the world you're in.